Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, again in my garage today, I got my 2003 Ford Focus SVT, and I'm going to be putting in a new radiator. What happened was, left it in the driveway overnight, come back out the next morning, and I see a large puddle of coolant laying underneath it. So I'll show you real quick here on my new radiator that I ordered. So I got to looking, and looked like my little drain plug here was missing at first, but on closer look at it, this somehow broke off in the radiator itself. And I don't know if it's because I over tightened it last time or what, but I tried shoving in a flathead screwdriver to try to get the rest of it out, but that did not work. So I figured with this vehicle having 250,000 miles on it, might as well just replace the whole radiator this time. So, and then as you can see, still leaking a little bit, but pretty much all of it drained out. So once we get this old one off, I'll show you a little closer what had happened. So let's get started. Alright, so I was just kind of taking a closer look to see the best way of getting this old one out is going to be. And the problem I'm seeing right now is the cooling fan assembly here doesn't look like it's going to clear this exhaust heat shield. Maybe you could pull out some of these bolts and remove the heat shield, but with those being rusted like that, I'm afraid they're just going to snap off as soon as I try and remove them. So I suppose you might be able to remove this whole support bracket here as well, and then along with the headlights and part of the bumper and that, but that just seems like quite a bit of work. So I'm going to jack this up and see if it's going to be a little bit easier to pull this radiator out from underneath the vehicle. So on the back, you can go ahead and block your rear wheels or pull up your e-brake. Alright, so looking up underneath the vehicle, seems like this is going to be our easiest way of getting that radiator out. Hopefully when we disconnect everything on the fan assembly, that'll just drop down. And then this rusty piece here looks like your radiator support bracket, which is held on by a couple bolts on each side. Hopefully we undo that, and then the radiator will just drop down with it. And then it looks like our AC condenser is also connected to that as well, so we'll have to watch for that. So first thing you'll want to do, since this vehicle doesn't have a radiator cap, go ahead and pull the cap off your overflow tank here. Alright, so next you want to grab your drain pan and crawl underneath the driver's side here and locate your drain plug or your petcock. Go ahead and unscrew that and pull that out. Let all that coolant drain out. And as you can see, that's what mine looks like after the plug broke off. And tried a couple things to fix it, but just didn't work. So go ahead and pull that and let it drain. So while you're letting that coolant drain underneath, you can come up top and we'll start taking apart some of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take out this battery and the battery tray. You necessarily don't have to do this maybe, but it's pretty easy to do. And with that out of there, we'll have a lot easier access to our upper radiator hose and getting that clamp off of there. So go ahead and pull your cover off, just a little clip here, pull out, and then lift this off, and that just comes right off of there. Next you'll grab a 10mm, we'll get the strap off of here. And then same with your terminals, 10mm. And then go ahead and pull off your terminals. And lift your battery out of there. And then to get this battery tray out, you got two bolts here, which are going to be 13mm. this should just lift out of here. Just like that. Next, I'm going to remove this intake to give us a little more room as well. So go ahead and take a little Phillips or a flathead and just unscrew this kind of lightly, just to where it kind of pops up like that. And then you can take a tool such as this, pop up on that, and then go underneath the lip here and then pop it out just like that. Same on your other one here. Unscrew it just a little bit. Take this, and it looks like that one's kind of broke, but we'll pop that out, pull that out of there, and let's see if we can pop this out without breaking it, just like that. Then you should be able to just move this, just kind of push back on it, and that kind of comes out like that. And let's see if I can disconnect this down here. This should just pull apart. Well, it looks like it came apart here too, so. But yeah, that just pulls off of there like that. That'll give us a lot more room. And then right underneath where that air intake was, you got a couple wiring harnesses here that we need to undo. So you should just be able to push in right there on that one. That'll pull out. And then same thing on this one. Push in right there. Pulls out of there. Then you got a clip for the wires going to your oxygen sensor there. So take your tool here, and it's right there on the fan. Just see if you can pop that off of there, just like that. Alright, so it looks like we've got another wiring harness here. Let me get this out of the way. This one here with the metal clip, and to get this style off, what you got to do is push in on this metal clip here. So push that in, and as you're pushing in on that, pull up on this, and that releases just like that. And you can kind of see it here. You just push in on that and it releases it. And it looks like my plug's a little burnt here. Something got hot here, so I may have to look into that and see what's going on there. And then it looks like you got another clip here for your oxygen sensor wires. That plugs into the cooling fans here. This one right there. Unplug that. Alright, so now we should be able to drop the fan assembly with everything unplugged. Just double check. And over here on the passenger side, I'll show you how we're going to do that. You want to locate this little tab right here with a flathead. It's going to be this one right here. And what you're going to want to do, stick a flathead in there, and then you want to pry lightly. See how that moves? So when you're prying with that, use your other hand, and you're going to want to go up with the fan assembly to get it past that little clip there. And then here's what it looks like on the driver's side. It's a little better look at it. So this clip here, like I say, what you want to do is grab your flathead and then just pry on that a little bit and pull up on the fan assembly as you're doing that. And then down below here, it's kind of the same thing, but you should just have to release this clip here and be able to pull up, and then it'll slide out of that one as well. So yeah, just take your screwdriver, pry on this a little bit. As you're doing that, pull up on the fan assembly. And like that. And that kind of releases from there. And then I'll go do the same on the passenger side. So yeah, same thing on the passenger side. Find your clip, push that back a little bit, and pull up on the housing on the fan assembly. Just like that. Alright, so now we should be able to drop this down, hopefully. What you want to do is, because we got our exhaust here, this may get in the way, so let's see if we can, because it won't drop down with that in the way, so let's see if we can maybe move it over and drop it down. See if it'll work that way. Just try and be careful not to break any wires or any clips or anything. Hopefully this will work. Trying to see what we're caught on. There we go. So now this should just drop out of here. So yeah, just like that. Pull that out of there. Alright, so taking a closer look at the fan assembly while I have it off. Looking at the resistor connector here, you can see it's kind of melted. Same with on that one. So I don't know why that must have got hot somehow. And then also the copper showing on this wire here. And I don't know why these are all exposed. Looks like whoever owned this before me may have replaced the fan motor or something on that. That's why these buck connectors are here. But I'm just going to go ahead and replace this whole thing while I got it off, just to be safe as well. And then next, get your pan ready. And go ahead and take off this lower radiator hose here. Grab yourself some channel locks or some kind of pliers. And remove this clamp here. And then back up top, same thing with your upper radiator hose. Go ahead and pull that one off. Okay, and then locate your overflow tank hose here, which is going to be on the top passenger side of the radiator. Go ahead and pull that off. Just like that. Alright, so it looks like we got one more hose here on the bottom passenger side, right above the lower radiator hose. So we need to pull that off as well. Alright, so we're just about ready to drop this lower support here, but it looks like before we do that, we need to get these horns out of the way. That way we can get better access to these bolts here. And then you can just unplug the wiring harness up here, just squeeze that. And that pulls off of there. And then we'll go ahead and remove this 10mm bolt right here. You can see there's a little hook on there that hooks up into there. Alright, so now we can go ahead and remove these two 10mm bolts. And I got a jack stand here I'm just going to put up under this support just to hold this a little more for when we go to take that other side off. and that just broke, so that's not good. Let's try this one. Okay, and then same thing on the passenger side here. Hopefully this one doesn't break though. Now let's go ahead and see if we can just remove this piece here. Just like that. Alright, so I'm going to move my jack stand here under the condenser. Just to kind of support that from falling. And then we'll go ahead and remove the radiator. But as you can see, it got these little clips here that the radiator helps hold on the condenser with. So what we need to do is just take the whole radiator. Looks like we need to go towards the driver's side, so it'll release from these clips and then it'll drop down. And then you can see it's the same exact thing on the driver's side as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Just kind of like that. Get your hoses out of the way. Looks like I'm getting caught on something up above. Just lower it down just like that. Alright, so with your old one out, go ahead and compare it to your new one. And then go ahead and take off these bushings and put them on the same spot on the new ones. You just pop off here like that. Oh, looks like this one came off in two pieces here. Just like that. Alright, so before we go ahead and install it, I just want to show you guys, I went ahead and blew out my AC condenser with the radiator off. You can use a air compressor with a tool like this, and then just kind of stand back, don't use too much pressure, and just blow it out. Just don't get too close to where you damage the fins or anything. Or you can use a hose, that works as well. I just didn't want to make a mess on the floor. And just make sure you go from the back side, so you're pushing that out, the condenser. And I'll show you. There's my little pile. So all that came out of the condenser when I blew it out. Alright guys, let me show you a real quick tip slash trick. Common problem on these Ford Focuses was this exhaust heat shield. And what happens is it rots through, and then it develops a rattle, an annoying rattle, just like that. Mine was really doing it just driving down the road, and when I went to shift I could really hear it. So I'll show you a quick fix. You can order a new one. I think they're like 60 bucks, but they're kind of hard to find now since these Focuses are getting older. Some guys remove them, and you can use some heat wrap around your pipes. But I just ran to my local Tractor Supply here, bought these fender washers, 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch. So you go ahead and open those, pull those out, and then grab a 10mm wrench, socket, and then you want to pull these 2 screws out here. And what you want to do is grab 2 washers for each side, and you want to put one behind and also in front of the shield. So it's kind of like this. Oops. Try that again. The one on the right's a little harder. So just try to get that lined up. Grab your bolt, stick your bolt through. And go ahead and get that started. You want to do the same thing on the other side. Stick that one through. Oops. Stick the bolt through. And then go ahead and tighten those up. And then with those tight, you can see it's on there tight now, and that should hold up. So that'll stop the rattle. Alright, so now we should be ready to install our new radiator. Just remember, we gotta click this into the AC condenser on the bottom and the top. So make sure you get those lined up. And then we got to slide that over to the passenger side. Just be careful putting this in. You don't damage your new fins on the radiator. And it might be easier with 2 people to do this, if you have a second set of hands there. Try and get that lined up at top and the bottom. I think we're lined up. Right there. So then we can slide it to the passenger side. Maybe. Let me go see if we're getting hung up there. Okay, there we go. And that should be in place now. Just like that. I'm just going to show you guys. Alright, I was just going to show you guys really quick. So as you're trying to snap that back in, you can see your condenser right here. And you can see how it just kind of slides over onto that top part of the condenser. And then over here, you can kind of get your finger in. Kind of hard to see, but down in there, that's the other part of the condenser where the radiator snaps into it on the top there. Alright, so now we can go ahead and put our lower support back on. Let's grab your bracket. Get that up in here. And then line up your rubber mounts there inside that. Grab your 10mm bolts. And then the one with the washer is going to go on this lower one more towards the front. Get that started. Grab your other one. Okay, and I'll go get the other side started. Actually, that's not going to hang, so let me grab my jack stand here. We'll just keep that in place like that. Alright, so over here on the driver's side, same thing. Get your bracket lower support lined up. And you may have to move this radiator forward or back just to get it kind of lined up in the holes up there. And then this bushing lined up in that. And then just kind of got to press up on this with quite a bit of pressure to get this bolt started here. Get that started, and then I had to drill out this hole because if you remember it broke on me, the bolt, so I drilled it out. I'm just going to put a normal bolt in it with a nut. Okay, I'll go ahead and tighten those up. Okay, and I'll go ahead and do the same on the other side, tighten those up. Alright, so I got all those tight, same with the other side. So now we can go ahead and put our horns on. Pull this out, and then remember we got a hook. That just hooks up in there, sits on there. Grab your 10mm bolt. Grab your wiring harness, plug that back in up here. Just like that. Okay, next we'll go ahead and stick our lower radiator hose back on. And then of course our clamp. And you want to try to get these clamps lined up the way they were when they came off, or they have a tendency to leak on you. And then of course the one right above that, do that one next. Okay, then back up top, go and put your overflow tank hose back on. And then of course your upper radiator hose next. Alright, so next I can move on to the fan assembly. As you can see, I got my new one here. Like I said earlier, this old one I just wasn't sure of. Just my wiring had some copper showing, and it looks like they replaced this resistor or something at one time. So I just didn't trust it, and I just, while I had it off, might as well just replace it with a new one. And that's what that looks like. So let's go ahead and put that up in there. Alright, so grab your fan assembly. Let's put that back up under there. Remember, we had to go at an angle when we pulled this out of here so we could clear the exhaust. So just be careful getting this up in here. You don't pinch any wires or anything. Trying to see what I'm getting caught up on. You look up top there. Alright, so I ran into a little snag. I wasn't able to get the fans up in there, because on this new fan assembly, this piece right here sticks out quite a bit, and on my old assembly it was flat, so I just can't get the fan past the heat shield there. It just keeps hitting on this part here, and I guess you can go ahead and shave that down or something with a Dremel if you wanted to, but I'll show you what I did here, which should work. So I took out this bolt here and I loosened this one on the radiator support on the driver's side, and then coming over to the passenger side, you can see I took out both, and that allows me to move this bracket some to the front, and same with the radiator, and that should give us enough clearance to clear this heat shield here. And as you can see, I bent some of the fins when I was trying to shove it in there, so I didn't want to go too much more. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. Alright, so let's try this again, see if it works. Hopefully. Alright, that should work. And then like before, just kind of pull down on the fan assembly and it should latch into place. Just like that. Just make sure you're in the grooves there on the radiator. There we go. Alright, so that should work. Alright, so I'll just show you guys real quick. You can see I'm in my grooves here. Same with up on this one here. And let me go ahead and get all this put back together. Same with this side, and my horns back on, and then I'll come back. Alright, so now we can start plugging everything back in up top. Just like the O2 sensor wiring here, we can plug that back into the new fan assembly. and our fan assembly wiring harnesses. And I'm gonna just put a little bit of dielectric grease on this, just to help with moisture and that on these. Go ahead and plug those in. Same with this one. Just put a little on there, just to help out. Plug that one in. Alright guys, so I was having trouble getting this one to click together with this one for some reason. It's almost like it's a little bit different, but it's still in there. So what I ended up doing is just running a zip tie around it to hold it in, and that should be just fine. And it should still be able to slide back into here as well. Just like that. And then you got another one of these clips here. So just plug that into the new fan assembly. And then this clip here, you can just kind of put this wire on there like this, and that'll hold that on there. Next, you can go ahead and put your air intake back on. Then of course your battery tray. Then grab your battery, stick your battery in there. Then of course your cover back on. Next we'll go ahead and lower it on both sides. Alright, so now we're ready to fill, and I'll just show you guys what I use. I use the concentrate, the Xerox GO5 gold stuff, and then I mix it with just some distilled water. What I usually do is always have an empty one of these on hand, and then I'll do 50-50, so I'll just fill it up to 2 quarts concentrate, and then I'll add it to 2 quarts of the distilled water. So let me go ahead and mix that real quick. Alright, so now we're ready to fill. Then you can go ahead and squeeze on your upper radiator hose and try and, you can see them bubbles. Try to get all the air out as much as you can. Alright, so I'm just going to leave the cap off, and you can see I'm at the full level there. So we'll go ahead and start it, and we'll see if that comes down a little bit, and we'll wait for that thermostat to open. So then we'll go ahead and start it. And then come over here, turn your heater on, full blast. We'll let that run. With that running, just check your level, and then of course go underneath here, make sure you don't got any leaks. We're looking good, so go ahead and let that warm up to normal operating temperature, and check it again. Alright, so once that starts climbing, you go ahead and replace your cap, and we'll wait for it to warm up to normal operating temperature. Alright guys, so I've been letting it run about 5 minutes now, And just taking a look at my coolant overflow reservoir, you can see the level has dropped. And it's sitting at the cold max line now, which means the thermostat opened up and coolant is flowing through the system, so that's good. And then let's just take a look at our fans. You can kind of see they're not running right now. That one's hard to see. So I'll show you guys how to test to make sure those are working. Just come over here. And then I can feel we got heat coming out. You can see our temperature is normal. Same with our oil temp. Come down here to your HVAC controls. Turn it to cold. And then turn on your AC. And make it max AC. Come back out. And I can already hear it. You can hear our fan is kicked on. You can see that spinning. And hard to tell, but that one's also spinning as well. So we should be good. Alright, so next I'll go ahead and just let this cool. And then I'll come back and check my reservoir level here. Probably have to top it off because once this cools, that level's going to drop. And then like I said, just check this when it's cold and then just put it to the max line and you should be good. Alright, so that's going to do it for the video today. Again, this was my 2003 Ford Focus SVT, and I replaced the radiator along with the cooling fan assembly. And I'll put some Amazon links in the description below if you want to order those same exact parts that I used today. And I hope this video helps you out, maybe save you some money. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, check out some of my other videos, and I'm always open to questions or comments. So until next time, thanks guys.